What's going on, guys? Sam Adams here, and welcome back to the channel. Today, we are talking about E3 2022 because some big changes are in the pipeline. In fact, the entire show is shifting online for the third year in a row. Now, this news came via GamesBeat, where they had a statement from the ESA, which reads, quote, "Due to the ongoing health risks surrounding COVID-19 and its potential impact on the safety of exhibitors and attendees, E3 will not be held in person in 2022. We remain incredibly excited about the future of E3 and look forward to announcing more details soon," end quote. Now, on the surface, this makes sense because Omicron continues to rise, COVID-19 cases continue to go up, and so it makes sense to recoup as much money when you can, if you can. At the same time, this looks to be kind of a cover-up, if you will, not to sound conspiratorial, of something else. This seems to be a bigger issue behind the scenes at the Entertainment Software Association. I say this because business analyst Mike Futter over on Twitter writes, quote, "This is spin. I heard from sources in mid-November before Omicron's emergence at the end of that month that the ESA had abandoned their dates for the LACC, aka the Los Angeles Convention Center," end quote. On top of that, Andy Robinson over at VGC writes, "E3 is canceled again. A few journalists, including myself, were working on this story, so I'm guessing the ESA wanted to get out ahead of it. It seems this is something that has been in the pipeline for quite some time. Others have corroborated that the November cancellation for the LA Convention Center reservations is also accurate. So what's going on here?" My personal take is the same as many around the industry, and that is that after 3 years, a lot of publishers and hardware producers just don't need E3 anymore. We've seen this giant shift online, and really the beginning of the end for E3 was whenever Sony took themselves out of the show. Whenever they said, we are going to be promoting our own event, we don't need to pay the ESA, we don't need to be on the center stage, and they just scheduled their show at the exact same time. The overwhelming majority of content creators, the overwhelming majority of fans are watching the show from home anyway. Fundamentally, the way that I have watched this season of gaming conferences hasn't changed since I started watching on G4 TV back in the mid-2000s. I'm still at home watching this show on a screen. I don't go, so it doesn't matter where or who is actually putting on this event. While the way these shows are put on and promoted has changed, the necessity of them has also changed as well, because E3 originated as a spin-off of the Consumer Electronics Show. The gaming portion of the industry was growing so rapidly that it did require its own event, and trade shows were how people talked about their products. It's how you spread the word. It's when you debuted big hardware. And while those are still neat, and while they're still great for collaborating with creators, contacting fans, and really kind of generating some hype, you don't need them to promote your product. I mean, look at what happened with PlayStation and with Xbox. We launched a piece of hardware in the middle of a pandemic, and these shows were held largely remotely, especially before the spring/summer season of last year. A lot of the build-up going into the launch of the PS5 and Xbox was remote. Who needs to come to a convention center when you have hardware selling like hotcakes? It's just not a necessity anymore. The big question is, what happens now? E3 doesn't really serve a purpose anymore, and the show is going online for the third year. On top of that, Jeff Keighley conveniently confirmed around the same time of the E3 news that the Summer Game Fest would be returning. So once again, we have Summer Game Fest, we have E3, and we have a collection of disparaged events from various people around the industry, and each of these events is stepping on the toes of the other. They're all kind of congealed in this one big month, and the Summer Game Fest was meant to kind of stretch these out, but largely, aside from a couple of people here and there, we still got this giant 2-week period of a lot of news, but it all just kind of felt lackluster because there was no unification. Whenever I was a kid coming up on E3, that was the pinnacle. That was the world summit of gaming. I knew what E3 meant because that's where everybody was going to be, and that unification is something that we're missing and we desperately need right now. That's the E3 situation and my 2 cents on it. Of course, I'm going to continue keeping you guys up to date on things, if not through Exhibition, the weekly podcast, through a one-off video like this. But I see a ton of people discussing it, so I wanted to make a quick video sharing my concerns, sharing my thoughts on it, and of course, I want to hear what you guys have to say in the comment section down below. Let me know what you think about E3 2022 Summer Game Fest and the summer gaming season. Are you excited for this new digital age that we're coming into, or do you wish there was going to be an in-person event coming this year? I would love to hear your thoughts. But until next time, thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you soon. Keep on playing.